So on our main series, Critical Failure, we have been analyzing Critical Role for the past few weeks. And while that era has come to an end, I wanted to do one last Critical Role video on this channel because recently on the subreddit, I saw somebody ranking Critical Role characters based on popular vote. I thought this was really interesting because in my opinion, Critical Role has been pretty spot on with their characters. I mean, how many brands can say they've had, 27 plus main characters over the course of 10 plus years and knock it out with their massive audience time after time after time? Seriously, every Critical Role character has a number of diehard fans, and not a lot of them have any haters at all. And I think that's pretty damn respectable for a brand this big that's had this many characters. I love pretty much every Critical Role character. So why am I interested in ranking them? Because I think learning what characters landed with the audience and what characters didn't land with the audience can be really helpful for figuring out how to create your character. Now, obviously, I think you should be able to create characters however you want, but knowing that additional context and information, it can be really nice. And hey, even the low-ranked characters in this list, I actually think there is a really interesting reason as to why they're down there. We'll get there in a second, but I'm not going to tell you right now, because good YouTuber. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so these rankings were split by party. So we're going to start off with Vox Machina, and we'll analyze that first. So at number 8, lowest rank, was Tyrion. At number 7, Pike Trickfoot. Number 6, Keyleth. Number 5 was Vax'ildan. Number 4 was Vex'ahlia. Number 3 was Scanlan Shorthalt. Number 2, Percival DeRollo. And number 1, by overwhelming vote, was Grog Strongjaw? Yeah, I was surprised too. So let's start out by analyzing the low rankings, because I actually think there's a really interesting reason why Tyrion Darrington is at the bottom. If you're not a Critical Role fan, you might be thinking, oh, well, is it because Tyrion is a disliked character? No, not at all. A lot of people actually really love Tyrion, and the possibility of him not showing up in Legend of Vox Machina has a lot of people saddened because he is a beloved character in the fandom. So why are he and Pike Trickfoot ranked so low? Well, because of time. Tyrion Darrington is a guest character. He only appeared for so many sessions, and Pike Trickfoot, because of Ashley Johnson's shooting schedule, she was also only available for so many sessions. And that just means they're naturally not going to land as much with an audience. Actually, remember this principle because it's going to pop up later in the future when we talk about Bell's Hells. However, Tyrion and Pike just are a good showcase of the fact that if you don't show up a lot at the D&D table, it is going to be objectively harder to build up the story of your character. I mean, being there, playing the game, I know this might come as a shock to you, helps you to better ingratiate yourself in the world and in the story and with the other characters. Now, of course, I don't think that Ashley Johnson or Sam Riegel are at any fault for this. Look, you can only show up so much. And in Sam's case, I mean, he was showing up. This was just a guest character. But no matter the reason, it is, objectively speaking, going to be harder for you to build up a story if you're not at the table as often. Make sure to be prepared to work around that if you work with a more restrictive schedule. Now, moving on to the next lowest ranked spot with Keyleth, I actually also have something here to say. I am well aware that a lot of the reason why people hated Keyleth was because of out-of-game reasons, a lot of misogyny-related reasons, in fact. But as a guy who just started rewatching a handful of episodes from Campaign 1 that I really liked, it did remind me that, yeah, Keyleth just wasn't the strongest character. There were still some flaws with her character. I think a lot of people do ignore that because there's so much stupid out-of-game hatred. However, that hatred does not remove the flaws that were there. And I think the best showcase of those flaws is looking at her in the animated series. In Legend of Vox Machina, Keyleth was changed to have a much more cutesy characterization, and the naive adventurer optimist was more pushed onto her as a character. She was a lot more like her inspiration, Aang, from The Last Airbender, and I think that really worked. I think the lesson here is just to figure out what kind of character you want your character to be. Keyleth kind of shifted a lot throughout the campaign. Sometimes she was a bit ditzy and drunken and naive, and sometimes she's more like this hardened, anti-religious badass. And that could be, oh, I have a really dynamic character, but it also can create an inconsistent character. Keyleth in Legend of Vox Machina is not a one-note character by any means, but all her traits are more focused, and that's what makes her so much better when watching Legend of Vox Machina. So if you want to play a super story-driven campaign with a really solid character, find that focal point, find that hook, and work with it. Okay, and we're gonna move on to the top 2 slots. I think the twins being in the middle fits pretty well. They're perfectly likable characters, but they're not everyone's favorite. Grog Strongjaw being so high surprised me. Again, if you're an unaware, non-Critical Role fan, Grog Strongjaw was the barbarian who played a lot of comic relief. Now, don't get me wrong, he definitely had serious moments. You have the famous "fix him" line when Scanlan Shorthalt, spoiler, died in Critical Role Campaign 1.
No! No! Fix him! Fix him!
But beyond that, the vast majority of his memorable moments were badass combat moments and comedy moments. And I think this illustrates something important. People sometimes harp on peanut gallery characters or comedy characters as disruptive, but funny, jokey characters like dumb Grog with his 8 intelligence, they can absolutely work. Grog is hilarious, but he works so well also because Travis Willingham understood timing and the rest of the party were able to bounce off of him. It goes both ways. There are absolutely ways to make a comedy relief character a problem player if you don't understand proper timing, but Travis Willingham, who played Grog, absolutely knew when to tell a joke and when to be serious and hold it back. On the other hand, the rest of the party weren't rolling their eyes every time he quipped or rolling their eyes every time Grog said something dumb. They were willing to bounce off of it. Be willing to accept comedy in your game if it works in your game. And frankly, in most games and most stories, it should work. It sucks because over the course of these past few years, I've seen more of a push against quips or jokes in movies as MCU humor. And yes, I understand that not every joke is funny, but that doesn't mean you cut them all out in general. And I've especially seen this mentality being applied to a lot of D&D games. Grog being so popular shows that that is silly. Comedy can absolutely work. Comedy central characters can absolutely work. Just understand the timing of it. Now, the final character I want to talk about is Percival DeRollo because he is my favorite Vox Machina character by far. He had an amazing arc focused entirely around his character, the Briarwood arc, which was the first time Critical Role really started hitting its stride as a story, in my opinion. Percy was incredibly compelling, dark, interesting, but also had his own funny moments. He's basically the perfect Tumblr sexy man too, which is why I'm so surprised he didn't win. I mean, come on. He's a sad, skinny guy with an edgy backstory. Y'all love that, right? Man, it shocked me that Percy didn't win since I thought that he was overwhelmingly the fan favorite. But yeah, I guess my opinion is not everyone's opinion. But yeah, Percy, Vex, Vax, these characters that came in behind Grog, I still think they're all great characters. In fact, all of Vox Machina in general are phenomenal characters. For a first-time party, Critical Role knocked it out of the park. Let's see how they did the second time around. Hey, you know what's even better than all these characters? Today's sponsor! It's getting better, guys. This week's videos are sponsored by CZEPEKU tokens. Now, I know you guys all know CZEPEKU from their maps because even outside of sponsored videos, I never shut up about them. But CZEPEKU has expanded beyond their beautiful, gorgeous, affordable maps and added gorgeous, beautiful, affordable tokens to the roster. Their website is a massive library of tokens with new collections of tokens being added constantly. And each token has so many elements of customization that let you make the token perfect for your specific encounter. Like I said, it's affordable, but also really easy to use. You just go to the website, search up a token that you want, customize the accessories, colors, and frame, and then just hit download. And that's it, guys. I am truly addicted to using this service. Sometimes I forget to prep my D&D game because of how fun it is to make tokens on CZEPEKU tokens. That's how you know it's good. If you're interested, you can head down into the description or to the pinned comment where you will find a link to CZEPEKU tokens. Thank you so much to CZEPEKU for sponsoring this week's videos. As always, supporting our sponsors does support us. And without further ado, let's head back to class. Spoiler alert for my opinion, but I think they did great because I love all these characters too. But at number 9 for the Mighty Nine, we have Kingsley. At number 8, we have Kingsley's original incarnation, Mollymauk Tea Leaf. At number 7, we have Yasha. At number 6, we have Not/Veth. At number 5, we have Beauregard Lionette. At number 4, we have Forge Stone. At number 3, we have Caduceus. At number 2, we have Jester Lavore. And at number 1, Caleb Widowgast. All right, let's start once again at the bottom because this one's really easy. If you're unaware, somehow by this point, Mollymauk Tea Leaf died in Critical Role Campaign 2 fairly early in the campaign, and that is almost definitely why he's ranked so low on the list. I've also seen a lot of rumblings that Mollymauk was overall not a great character, and dying was the best thing he ever did, and I understand that. He definitely was a weaker character from Percy, but you gotta remember that Mollymauk only got those few episodes. A big reason why people love characters like Caleb Widowgast, for example, is because they got so much time to build up their story. Yeah, there are characters like Jester, who are immediately lovable, but not every character is going to be like that. So I don't think that Mollymauk is necessarily a bad character. He's just a character that didn't get enough time. Now, Kingsley, who ranked lower than him, this is Mollymauk's reincarnation. And he is a clear choice for last place just because he literally only appeared in a one-shot. There is no reason why he would outrank any of the other characters. I do have a soft spot for Kingsley because it showed Matt's dedication to consequences in Campaign 2. Mollymauk Tea Leaf died. He was reincarnated as an evil character named Lucian. Once the party killed him, they used a miraculous divine intervention to revive Lucian back into Mollymauk. But it didn't work. Because Mollymauk is dead. The person that was revived was Kingsley, a brand new incarnation of this purple tiefling person. And I thought that that was perfectly respectable. Look, sometimes, even with miracle rolls, things don't just work out 100%. I understand there are plenty of DMs who would allow the Mighty Nine to have that miracle happy ending, but I don't think that that would be a really satisfying story. They did get what they wanted. They got a friend back. But was it the exact friend that they had? No. Because Mollymauk died. There were still consequences to that, and I like that. So, in my heart, I'll always have a soft spot for Kingsley, even if I haven't had a ton of time to make him my favorite character by any means. Now, moving up the list, all the Mighty Nine are pretty close in terms of rankings. There's much less of a vast spread in comparison to Vox Machina, and especially in comparison to Bell's Hells, which means, if you're not aware of statistics, this means that most of the Mighty Nine are liked by most of the audience. The rankings are pretty even across the board, which I think is really, really cool. It just shows how well loved the Mighty Nine was as a party. I think Veth, Bo, Yasha ranking low, there's not too much to say there. Ashley Johnson's shooting schedule prevented her from showing up for all the sessions. Yeah, what can you do? But moving up to the top of the list, there's a lot more to say here. Caleb as a character just really landed. He was a dark, edgy character. And once more, it just shows that traditional problem player archetypes don't need to be problem players. Caleb Widowgast is objectively speaking an edgelord. One of my earliest videos is me talking about Caleb Widowgast being an edgelord. And he's an edgelord that works. He has an incredibly dark backstory where he murdered his parents, very unfortunate. He's bent on revenge, but he's also not selfish, both as a player and as a character. His character does hamper the rest of the party sometimes. There are moments where Ford literally threatens his life because of his selfishness. That does happen, but one, those conflicts are resolved fairly quickly, and two, it's never the player trying to take up time at the table or steal away spotlight from the rest of the characters. Sometimes edgy characters can kind of hold that grip on the reins in a game just because their backstory is almost like oppressive. Darker things just happen to get in our heads, you know what I mean? So that means edgelords can really easily fill time. But Liam O'Brien, who played Caleb, never tried to do that. He played a character that was dark, but never did it in a selfish way, and that's why Caleb worked. And beyond that, Caleb's development into a more optimistic, happy character, it is a great arc. It works really well. Edgelords not always meant to be edgy. Sometimes they grow, and that growth is what makes them memorable characters. I actually think the number 2 character being Jester is really interesting because she's the polar opposite of Caleb. She is a ray of sunshine who I love. In my opinion, Jester is the best Mighty Nein character and my favorite Critical Role character of all time. She's just so effortlessly charming, though this is not due entirely to a character reason. I also think it's just because of Laura Bailey's incredibly strong performance. It just shows to Goya that if you are a great role player, you can get people to love your character. I mean, I swear to God, Laura Bailey could play a freaking lump of stone and it would still be an incredibly likable character. She's just so damn charming. Yeah, all the Mighty Nein, they just worked really well. These rankings being so close was really good to see. Bell's Hell is a little bit different. Oh, Bell's Hells, my problematic faves. By far the most divisive party, as Critical Role Campaign 3 definitely didn't land with all audiences. I liked most of it. Hell, I even loved the characters a lot. But I think these rankings do make sense. At number 10 at the dead bottom, we have Ashton Greymore. By far, by the way. Number 9 is Bertrand Bell. Number 8 is Breas. Number 7 is Imogen. Number 6 is FCG. Number 5 is Laudna. Number 4 is Fern. Number 3 is Orem. Number 2 is Chetney. Number 1 is Dorian Storm. Wow. Okay. Starting once again at the bottom. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I don't hate Ashton. I really don't. This is Taliesin Jaffe's character for this campaign, and him ranking lower than Bertrand is a big deal. Bertrand Bell was a guest character played by one of the main cast who only appeared for a handful of episodes before being killed in a largely planned out scene that was honestly pretty controversial at the time. So Ashton being lower than him is crazy. There are a variety of reasons. I think this is the only time where the reason why he's lower is because a lot of people did not like this character. I don't agree with this point of view. I thought Ashton was a fine character. Was he as good as Caduceus or Percy? Hell no. I think as a character, he's a vast downgrade. He's a punk rock, edgy character who... yeah, that just is not gonna land with everyone. If you want an example of that kind of punk rock character done really well, look at Johnny Silverhand from Cyberpunk 2077. He has a lot of those same, like, anarchist points of view. In fact, he's an even more extremist character than Ashton is a lot of the time in that game. But Keanu Reeves' Johnny Silverhand is, one, more self-aware. The story doesn't really, like, pander to his point of view, so to speak. Johnny is directly called out by the story multiple times for being not a perfect guy. Ashton doesn't get that treatment all the time. It especially got bad after Shardgate, a controversy where Ashton essentially put a very dangerous piece of magical material into his body. That was considered a problem player move by some people because of Ashton selfishly trying to take this magic. I honestly loved that moment. I thought it was ballsy. I thought it was interesting. And in terms of Ashton being a problem player, look, at that point, we're not analyzing the story of Critical Role as an audience. We're analyzing the table-to-table conflict. And I just can't imagine the Critical Role cast hating Taliesin for that moment. And from an audience standpoint, watching it, again, I thought that was one of the only ballsy moves the campaign ever pulled, so I actually really loved it. I'll actually take it further and say the negative reaction the moment got really sucks because it might push the cast out of doing more ballsy things like that. And I don't need them to do really heavy moments like that all the time, but at least have the guts to try it, because I thought that Ashton taking that shard was interesting. But yeah, there you go. That's me defending Ashton Greymore. I've never understood like the utter hatred of them that some people have, but there you have it in full effect. Bertrand Bell and Breas being low, again, time. Both the characters were characters played for much shorter lengths of time than the rest of the cast. Imogen being so low, though, is crazy to me. I really like Imogen, or at least I really like her design. I really love Laura Bailey doing a southern accent. A lot of people accuse Imogen of being, like, the main character of the campaign, but, like, that's not Imogen's fault. Imogen understood the assignment. Laura Bailey created a character that really fit into the God plot of Critical Role Campaign 3, unlike the rest of the cast, meaning that Imogen deserves that main character slot, if anything. She did what she was supposed to do. If you want your character to be super plot relevant, make them relevant to the plot. That's what Imogen was. That's why she was so ingrained into the overall story. Moving up to the top of the list, though, Dorian Storm being the most liked character of Campaign 3 is wild, because he is also a guest character, and he won by like a decent margin. Not as much as Grog, but by a decent margin. I think there are a few out-of-game reasons why this happened. For starters, Robbie Daymond is new to the cast, and a lot of people really liked him. He's a new face, new blood, bringing something fresh, and that is always going to be welcome, especially since the fresh thing he brought was actually very good. Chetney being right behind him also makes sense. Chetney being right behind him is actually consistent with what I said with Grog Strongjaw. Chetney is mostly a comedy character, and one played by Travis Willingham, who worked really well as a funny comedy character. His interactions with the previously mentioned Dorian were especially hilarious, so the audience liking him is no surprise. Honestly, this overall ranking of Bel's Hellas was the one I was most interested in, and the one that surprised me the most. Ashton being so low, I don't get it, but it does make sense. Dorian being so high was a pleasant surprise, though. Usually characters that don't get a lot of time in the spotlight aren't super beloved. You don't need to be there for all 100 sessions. Even if you show up for a few, it could still be worth it. Playing a guest character at someone's table can be really fun. So if you only have 2 weeks to play, tell the DM that. And hey, who knows? They might happily bring you into the table for those few weeks, and you might have a great time. You don't always need to stick around for every single session. So yeah, those are the rankings of Critical Role's characters. I did not agree with basically any list here, but hey, it's popular vote, so, you know, it is what it is. If you guys enjoyed, you might enjoy our main channel. We brought it up earlier, but we just analyzed Critical Role's ending, link in the cards. But before you go, please do leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own tips or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave your rankings of your favorite and least favorite Critical Role characters. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you all next time. Farewell. But I'm not going to tell you right now. It's good YouTube. Without further ado.